Hello. Hello, Ma.
Hello, Simon. A bunch of people already here with us.
Yes, I see.
Very nice.
There's Roseanne. Hi, Ro. And Joe Moreau. And Scott. And of course, Nellie is right there. Hi, everybody.
Hi. Namaste, Joe.
There's the y'all. And there's Maya.
Y'all, it says, yeah. Hi, Maya. Hi, everyone else. Hi, Teria.
Hi, Terry. Did I get Maya? Hi, Maya. So, here today we're going to play with the 24 gurus of Dattatreya. This is a fun story. It talks about 24 gurus. I was just out for a brief walk and I thought I was thinking about this. I quite enjoy this story. And a principle of way to look at this is that we can learn from everything around us. I was pondering that as I was walking, and I thought, what would be an example? And suddenly my eyes caught the grass that was along in front of some house as I was walking along. And so how can I learn? What can I learn from the grass that is growing there? And it just came to my mind that every one of those blades of grass, every little blade of grass is an individual blade of grass. Yet all of those blades of grasses grow together and form one patch of grass that is the yard, I guess you call, of somebody's home. And they all seem to work together. Now, I know that the individual blades are just growing, but there's something happening that it all grows together. And then I noticed little weed things growing and other little things. And I said, wow, there's all this tremendous diversity of little green things growing everywhere.
When you said grass instantly, because I was working outside today in the yard or in the garden.
Raj.
In the garden, actually, it's quite nice garden in the meantime. And I was standing on the grass and I said, isn't this nice that I can stand on it and it's not, in a sense, not affected by me. It doesn't, put out any poison defense mechanism or anything. It just, it just gets squished and then it gets back up and then it gets, and it doesn't matter who walks on it. It's just there. It's just.
Good. Thank you for saying that, because this is what I was pondering here is we can learn from everything. And it doesn't mean literally that I'm going to take grass or you're going to take grass and put it on an altar and worship it and create a grass religion or something like that. But we learn from everything around us, and we can do it all day long.
Actually,
and there's Inika. Hi, Inika.
Hi. Govinda is all snuck in. And Raj said hello again.
There's a Nellie. Hi, Nellie.
Hi.
There's Yolanda. Hi, hi.
Hi, hi.
And there's Govinda. Satsang call. Hello, all. And I have here, I'm ready to go. I will pull this up.
I want to tell one more story before you go there.
All righty.
As I was working in the yard, I had this very intriguing thought. I said, wow, do you think, because I was removing things because I think gardening is mostly removing and allowing things to grow, but it's also removing that which you think should not be there. And I said, who am I to decide, okay, you're a good plant and you're a bad plant, so you should go. And you can grow here, but you cannot grow there, so I'm going to move you. And I said, I am kind of messing, with the creative process. And though then, fortunately, Buddhi kicked in and says, no, you are a part of it. And altogether, you are just manifesting and playing with the elements. So don't think you are the doer. Don't think you are like a
when you just said that, that I quite like. It prompted me to think how easy or most of us, how quick we are to take credit for not being judgmental. But the observation you just made is, okay, we're not, socially extremely judgmental out here in some political sense or bigotry sense or something like that. But there we are judging which is good grass and which is weeds or however.
Yeah. Who am I to say that? I mean, it's, yeah. I kept going because I had an opinion.
A weed is an herb in the wrong place.
Yes.
And who says it's wrong, huh? That's part of the humor of it. We say, oh, you're in the wrong place.
Yeah, so you're out, and I'm just killing you right now. But it's not that everything overgrown, so yeah, I thought it was an intriguing thing. Since our visit in Brabant, a mouse joined my luggage. He or she is living with me now, but slowly is taking over my house, says Nelly. Wow.
Wow.
That's not good.
That sounds exciting.
That's the intriguing question of Ahimsa. What are you going to do about the mouse that is over your place, like a pile of ants that are walking around in your house? That's not good either, or cockroaches or...
Well, anyway, so here we are with Dattatreya. 24 gurus. This is from the Srimad Bhagavatam. And I have a little bit before we go in. Right there is the first one. Once King Yadu saw Lord Dattatreya in a forest and addressed him, Sir, you are indeed quite capable, energetic, and wise. Such as you are, why do you live in the forest free from all desires? Even though you have neither kith nor kin nor even a family, how could you be so blissful and self-contented? Nellie is trying to catch the mouse, but it's not working. I'm getting disturbed.
Reminds me of this story, Swamiji. This story.
What about it?
That they have flies in Hansdale, and friendly and catch them and put them out, and then that didn't really work, and they went to Swami Rama, and along the way in the hallway Swami Rama landed a fly on his heart, and he did like this, and he in that sense killed it. You tell the story and finish it up by saying they went back with, I think we've got our answer.
Yeah. And they got rid of them.
Mm-hmm.
How could you be so blissful and self-contented? The Avadhut, an Avadhut is one who has shaken off all worldly desires, replied. I've only met one, this is me speaking, I only met one fellow personally who goes by the name Avadhut at a ashram in Badrinath. They call him Avadhut. He replied, my bliss and contentment are the fruits of self-realization. I have gained the necessary wisdom from the whole creation through 24 gurus. I shall elaborate the same for you. Now, another thing I'll add here, we can hold with this. It doesn't mean that there's literally 24 individual beings who are sitting there saying, I'm going to be the guru to this man called Dattatreya. Doesn't mean that. But recall, as we've talked before, the notion that there's two natural tendencies. One is the tendency to move outward into the world, to expand and come out here. It's built into the way the universe and reality operates. And there's a natural impelling force to draw us back inward. So we said it's a little bit like centripetal and centrifugal force, where you put a stone on the end of a string and you spin the thing like this, and the stone stays in a circle, or a satellite going around the earth, or the moon going around the earth, or the earth going around the sun. There's two forces. One is the gravity pulling it in, and the other is if you release that gravity, the impetus will get it flying off into space, whether it's the stone on the string, or the satellite around the earth, or the earth around the sun, or the sun or the earth around the sun. Anyway, so those two forces, and that impelling force to come inward is can be called guru. So in that universal sense of guru, we can say that it doesn't mean literally that every one of these 24 is sitting there saying, I'm a guru and you are my disciple, Dattatreya. Sri Dattatreya had 24 teachers from nature. Many are my preceptors, he told King Yadu, selected by my keen sense. So it was his keen sense, his clear buddhi, that was able to see the guru in nature, which is what I was saying about the grass, and then Matri told the story about what she learned from grass this morning. From whom, acquiring wisdom freely, I wander the world. And then he lists them, and all of them lists them there: the earth, the air, breeze, sky, fire, sun, pigeon, python, sea, moth, elephant, ant, fish, pingala, the courtesan, arrow maker, the infant, the moon, honeybee, the deer, the bird of prey, the maiden, the serpent, the spider, the caterpillar, and water are my 24 preceptors.
And I've seen other very similar list with some differences in a way that only emphasizes that it doesn't matter who it was exactly, that there's a principle being.
Yeah, I actually one time started to, as I observed this years ago, and I like the concept of this. I started trying to make a list of what are some things that I had encountered that I had learned from like this. So I would imagine that it's probably a pretty common tendency for one to look at this old teaching here, this ancient teaching from whenever this was, and look at it and feel this inclination to make your own list. From what am I learning in nature? I think I've long ago lost or thrown away that attempt to do that. But
people will say that they learn so much from their children and say that they are their gurus in a sense.
Yes. And so it's not literally that we turn these things into, a guru, a conscient, sentient being that is doing something for me, but we understand the universal process of guru and the way that magnetism, so to speak, of guru is drawing us back inward to truth and giving us wisdom, and that we can hold it in that way. And it's quite a nice thing, isn't it?
It is very wonderful.
Yeah, I thought we'd just take the time and read through these.
And also, Swamiji, if I make one more comment, is that it's very, very logical that if there is some commonality, I think we can all learn from the sun. The sun is a well-known metaphor, for example, that force or that then is turned into a deity along the way.
Yeah, why don't we do this, Ma? Yes. Comment whenever we want. Maybe I'll read the odd one and you can read the even-numbered ones. How's that?
That sounds like a nice plan.
Okay. Earth. All creatures, in accordance with their previous store of karma, assume different physical forms and live on earth. People plow, dig, and tread the earth. They light fires on it. Still, the earth does not swerve from its course, even by a hair's breadth. On the other hand, it feeds and houses all creatures. Seeing this, I learned that the wise one should never swerve from his vow of patience, love, and righteousness under any circumstances, and should dedicate his life for the welfare of living beings. The earth, along with its mountains and rivers, is my first guru. Mom, that reminded me of the grass we were talking about. Oops, she went away. But here she comes back. Where did you go?
It froze again upon me.
Oh.
Yeah. What I heard you reread the last sentence, so I don't know what you said after that.
Okay, then I said, Ma, it's your turn.
Air, sky. The soul is also like the sky, which is omnipresent. I have noticed that sometimes the sky or space.
What? May I ask you a question?
Oh, sorry, you're up.
Why did you skip air?
In itself, and it blows on both sweet. Swamiji?
Can you hear my voice?
I can hear your voice.
I was asking you the question, why did you skip number 2, air?
Because I thought that was still the one that you were reading highlighted. I didn't see the switch of highlights, so that's why my eye naturally went.
I did earth.
I know, and I said the switch of the black, the blue, I didn't catch. So I'll go to air. I observed that air is pure and odorless in itself, and it blows on both sweet and foul-smelling things without any discrimination or preference. Though it momentarily seems to take on the smell of its surroundings in a short while, it reveals its pristine quality. From this I learned that a spiritual aspirant should live in the world unaffected by the dualities of life, like joy and sorrow, and by the objects of the senses. He should keep his heart's feeling and his speech unpolluted by vain objects. As I have learned all this by observing it, air is my second guru.
Isn't that sweet?
Yeah.
Now, sky. The soul is also like the sky, which is omnipresent. I have noticed that sometimes the sky or space gets thickly overcast or filled with dust or smoke. At sunrise and during night, it apparently takes on different colors, but in fact, it ever retains its colorless self, and it is never touched or stained by anything. From this, I learned that a true sage should remain ever pure like the sky or space, untouched or unaffected by anything in the phenomenal universe, in time, including his own physical processes. His inner being is totally free from emotional reaction to things and events, even like the space. Thus, I accept the sky or space as my third guru.
Fire. My fourth teacher is the element of fire. Sometimes it manifests itself as blazing flames, sometimes as smoldering embers covered by ash. But it is always got a bunch of freeze there, but it is always present in all objects as latent heat. The God of fire accepts the offering of everyone, irrespective of his moral worth, and burns down his sins. And it still remains the ever pure divinity as the fire god. He is untainted by the sins of such devotees. So too, a sage of perfect realization should accept food of everyone, burns down his sins, and bless the giver. Though fire has no specific form of its own, when it is associated with fuel that burns, it assumes such apparent forms. So too, the true self, though formless in itself, appears in the forms of deities, human beings, animals, and trees when it is associated with the respective physical structures. The source of all forms in the universe, as also their end, remain ever mysterious. All the things are manifested only in between their origin and their end. Their source and end is the true self, which is eternal, unchanging, unmanifested, and omnipresent. The nature of the elements of fire is such. To manifest fire transforms the various things it consumes into the same ash. So too the wisdom of self-realization rejects the manifest forms and properties of things as illusion and realizes their own original essence. The one original essence as itself. Thus the element of fire is my fourth guru.
My fifth guru is sun. Though that's supposed to be through, I think. Through the sun though the sun we see in our daily life is one, it appears as many when reflected by water in different vessels. Similarly, the one real self, capital S self, manifests itself as many selves of living creatures when reflected by their physical structures. As sun illuminates the many forms in nature to our visions, the sage too eliminates the true nature of all things to his devotees.
Can you hear me?
No, I can now.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, we're
Pigeon.
waiting.
It froze again upon me. Pigeon, I have gained wisdom from a pigeon too. Or should I put Cocoa Birdie in there? Once a pair of pigeons lived together on a tree. Oh no, it's not really. They bred their young and were bringing them up with deep affection and love. One day a hunter caught the young fledgling in a snare. The ladybird, which returned from the forest with food for its young ones, saw their plight, and unable to leave them, she leaped in the snare to share their fate. Shortly after, the male pigeon turned up, and unable to bear the separation from his sweetheart, it too jumped in the snare and met its end. Reflecting on this, I realized how even after being born as an intelligent human being, man is caught in the coils of possessiveness and brought about his own spiritual destruction. The self, which is originally free, when associated with the body's sense, gets identified with it and thus get caught in the endless cycle of birth, death, and misery. Thus, the pigeon was my sixth guru.
Nice story, isn't it? Yeah. The python is a sluggard, unwilling to move out briskly for its prey. It lies in its lurch and devours whatever creature it comes across, be it sufficient to appease its hunger. From this I learnt that the man in search of wisdom should refrain from running after pleasures and accept whatever he gets spontaneously with contentment. Like the python, he should shake off sleep and wakefulness and abide in a state of incessant meditation on the self, capital S self. Thus, the python was my seventh teacher of wisdom.
C. Contemplating the marvelous nature of the ocean, I gained much wisdom. Any overflowing rivers may join it, yet the sea maintains its level, nor does its level fall even by a hair's breadth in summer, when all the rivers dry up. So too, the joys of life do not elate the sage of wisdom, nor does its sorrows depress him. Such as the sea never crosses its threshold on the beach, the wise one never transgresses the highest standards of morality under the pool of passions. Like the sea, he is unconquerable and cannot be troubled by anything. Like the unfathomable ocean, his true nature and the depths of his wisdom cannot be easily comprehended by anyone. The ocean, which has taught me thus, is my eighth guru.
The moth. I often observe that the moth, or more precisely a grasshopper, is tempted by fire to jump in it and get burnt down. So too the unthinking man is enticed by the illusory pleasures of the senses and gets caught in the ceaseless cycles of birth and death. On the other hand, the wise one, when he catches even a glimpse of the fire of wisdom, leaves everything aside, leaps in it, and burns down the illusion of being a limited self. Thus the moth was my ninth guru.
Elephant. The elephant was my 10th guru. The human beings raise a stuffed cow elephant in the forest. The wild tusker mistakes it for a mate, approaches it, and then skillfully bound in fetters by the cunning human beings. So too the ungenerate man is tempted by the opposite sex and gets bound by the fetters of infatuation. The seeker after liberation should learn to be free from lust. The elephant was thus one of my teachers.
The ant stores up lots of food materials which it neither eats nor gives away in charity to any other creature. In consequence, other more powerful creatures are tempted to plunder the ants. So too the man who lays by treasures of merely material things becomes a victim of robbery and murder. But the ant has something positive to teach us too. It is a tireless worker and is never discouraged by any number of obstacles and setbacks in its efforts to gather its treasure. So too a seeker after wisdom should be tireless in his efforts for self-realization. This noble truth has the little ant taught me and became my 11th guru.
Fish. The fish greedily swallows bait and is at once caught by the angle hook. From this I realized how man meets his destruction by his craving for delicious food. When the palate is conquered, all else is conquered. Besides, there is a positive feature in the fish. It never leaves its home, that is the water. So too man should never lose sight of his true self, with a capital, but should ever have his being in it. Thus the fish becomes my 11th guru. 12th guru.
Pingala. The 13th guru that has awakened my spirit is a prostitute named Pingala. One day she eagerly awaited a particular client in the hope that he would pay her amply. She waited and waited till late in the night. When he did not turn up, she was at last disillusioned and reflected thus: alas, how stupid I am! Neglecting the divine spirit within, who is the nature of bliss eternal, I foolishly awaited a debauchee sensualist who inspires my lust and greed. Henceforth I shall expend myself on the self, unite with him, and win eternal joy. Through such repentance she attained blessedness. Besides, reflecting on its obvious purport, I also realized that a spiritual aspirant should likewise reject the lure of lesser spiritual powers, which are mere byproducts of sadhana, spiritual practice. I learned that the temptation to secure things from others' hands are the seeds of misery. That renunciation of these is the sole means of realizing infinite joy.
Arrow maker. Once I observed an arrow maker who was totally absorbed in holding a sharp arrow. He grew so obliviously of all else that he did not even notice a royal pageant that passed by. This sight awakened me to the truth that such single-minded, all-absorbing contemplation of the self spontaneously eliminates all temptation for the trivial interests of the world. It is the sole secret of success in spiritual discipline. Thus, the arrow maker is my 14th guru.
Playful boy. Little boys and girls know neither honor nor dishonor. They do not nurse a grudge or a prejudice against anyone. They do not know what is their own or what belongs to others. Their happiness springs from their own selves, their innate creativity, and they do not need any external objects or conditions to be happy. I realize that the sage of perfect enlightenment is also such. A playful boy thus happened to be my 15th guru.
Moon. Of all things in nature, the moon is unique. It appears to wax and wane during the bright and dark fortnights. In fact, the lunar globe ever remains the same. In this, it is like the self of the man. While a man appears to pass through the stages of infancy, boyhood, youth, maturity, and old age, his real self remains unchanged. All changes pertain only to body and not to the self. Again, the moon only reflects the light of the sun, but has no such of its own. So too, the soul or mind of man, so too the soul or mind of man is only a reflection of the light of awareness of the real self. Having thought this truth, the moon became my 16th guru.
Honeybee wanders from flower to flower, and without hurting them in the least, draws honey. So too, a spiritual seeker should study all the holy scriptures, but retain in his heart only that which is essential for his spiritual practice. Such is the teaching I imbibed from my 17th guru, the honeybee.
Deer. It is said that deers are very fond of music and that poachers employ it to lure them before hunting them. From this I learned that passions and sensual desires will soon bog down a spiritual aspirant who has a weakness for merely secular music till he ultimately loses whatever spiritual progress he has achieved earlier. The deer taught me this truth. Is my 18th.
A bird of prey is my 19th guru. One day I saw one such carrying away a dead rat. Many other birds, like crows and eagles, attacked it, now kicking on its head and again pecking on its side in their endeavor to knock off the prey. The poor bird was thus very much pestered. At last it wisely let its prey fall, and all the other birds rushed after it, thus freeing itself from so much botheration. It sighed in relief. From this I learned that a man who runs after worldly pleasures will soon come into clash with his fellow beings, who too run for the same, and has to face much strife and antagonism. If he learns to conquer his craving for worldly things, he can spare himself much unhappiness. I realize that this is the only way to the peace in the world.
Maiden. Once I observed a family visit a maiden's house, seeking her hand in marriage for their son. At that time, her mother was away from home, so the maiden herself had to entertain the guests with refreshments. She at once started pounding food grains with a pestle. The bangles on her hands started knocking against each other, pounding sound. She was afraid that the guest might hear the sound and be unhappy for having caused her so much trouble. As a Hindu maiden, she is not expected to remove all the bangles on her hand at any time, so she kept 2 on each hand and removed all the rest. Even then, they were knocking against each other and were making noise. So she kept only 1 bangle in each hand this time, and she could finish her task quiet. Reflecting on this, I realized that when a number of spiritual seekers live together, a lot of unwanted gossip ensues, and no spiritual practice can be pursued with a single-minded effort. Only in solitude a spiritual aspirant can carry his task. Knowing this truth, I henceforth resorted to solitude. Thus, a maiden happened to be my 20th guru.
Serpent. I observed that a serpent never builds a dwelling for itself. When white ants have raised an anthill for themselves, the serpent eventually comes to inhabit it. Similarly, worldly people have to endure many hardships in raising houses for themselves, while a recluse monk does no such thing. Worldly men raise the monasteries, and the monk lives in them, or he leaves an old dilapidated lives in old dilapidated temples or under shady trees. The serpent molts, leaving off its old skin. So too, at the end of his life, a yogi leaves his body deliberately and in full awareness of his own true self, and is not frightened by the phenomenon of death. On the other hand, he casts off his old body as happily as he does his worn-out clothes and dons new ones. Thus has my 21st guru taught me.
The spider is my 22nd guru. It weaves its web from the thread in the form of a fluid. After some time, it gathers up the web into itself. The Supreme projects the whole creation out of itself, and after some time withdraws it into itself at the time of dissolution. The individual soul, too, bears the senses and the mind within itself, and at its birth as a human being or any other living creature, it projects them out as the sense organs of actions, and the whole body. In accordance with its latent tendencies, the creature thus born gathers up all the means and objects needed for its living. At the end of its life's duration, the soul again withdraws the senses, mind, and acquired tendencies at the hour of death. Thus I have learned from the spider.
The caterpillar is also one of my teachers of wisdom. The wasp carries its caterpillar to a safe corner and closes it up in its nest and goes on buzzing about it. The young caterpillar is so frightened by the incessant buzzing that it cannot think of anything else than the buzzing wasp. Through such unintermittent contemplation of its mother, the caterpillar too soon grows up into a wasp. In a like fashion, a true disciple is so charmed and overawed by the spiritual eminence of his own guru that he cannot think of anyone other than him. Through such contemplation, he soon blossoms into a great spiritual master himself. The caterpillar is thus my 23rd guru.
Last but not least, the water is my 24th guru. It quenches the thirst of every creature, sustains innumerable trees and all creatures. While it thus serves all living beings, it is never proud of itself. On the other hand, it humbly seeks the lowest of places. The sage should likewise bestow health, peace, and joy to every creature that resorts to him. Yet he should ever live as humblest of God's creation. With such
humility and devotion, I look upon the whole of God's creation as my teacher, gathered up wisdom, and through patient effort, I realized my goal of spiritual enlightenment.
Wow.
Quite a journey of this, isn't it?
Very expensive as you read it. Everything becomes it.
Yeah, that's fun to do too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hello, Hashim. Hashim is with us. So that was nice. That was kind of fun, wasn't it?
That was fun.
That was fun. All righty. So we'll pause there now. This is very inspiring, says Terry. Isn't that a great story? It's just, I love going through that. And I had a lot of fun going through that together with you, Ma, like that, and doing that. And so, yes, very inspiring. And a big part of that inspiring is that we can see learning lessons of these principles everywhere around us. Literally everywhere around us. All we have to do is want and be willing to see the hidden messages. It does not mean that there's literally a messenger. It doesn't mean that every 24 of these gurus were literally trying to be a guru. It's just built in. It's the way the universe operates, that if you and I will but open our eyes and look around, all of this stuff that we keep talking about that can sound like abstract theory or philosophy is not. It's utterly, utterly practical, and that we are living in it at all times. This is one of the key reasons why we do not have to be renunciates. We don't have to be monks. We can live in the world. It doesn't matter what life is in front of us. It's all around us, and the world can teach us. We still look at Yoga Sutras and we look at all these texts. We look at the 24 gurus of Dattatreya. We look at Tripura Rahasya. We look at the Upanishads. We go through the Bhagavad Gita. All those lessons are there. But we can take that and learn directly right in the middle of life. It is ubiquitous. That's too big a word for me, Johnny. I'm going to have to go look up ubiquitous. It's a very, very expensive word, Matri. You can look later and find out what it means. It's very
awesome.
Yeah. Okay. And so, time.
Have a wonderful satsang tonight.
Yes. What am I doing tonight? I'm doing a little bit more from Swami Rama on sadhana, one of the books that touches on Yoga Sutras principles.
Nice. Enjoy, everyone who will be there.
That will be fun.
I'll watch it tomorrow.
You can watch it tomorrow. Anyway, thank you all for visiting and playing. This is fun. This is enjoyable.
It is.
And nice of you to play. And remember, what we have.
Ever present in abundance.
Wow, thank you, Terry. Now, the question is, did you know that because you're smart, or did you look it up? It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Either of the other. She's pretty smart.
Well, you should put ubiquitous up first. There's ubiquitous, so if anybody watches this later, they don't have to figure out how to spell it. They can say, there it is. And now where did the Terry comment go there? Means that, and Roseanne said, thank you, see you soon, yes. Thank you for visiting with us, Yolanda. Yolanda. And look at those, there's Hashim always being proper and kind and respectful of others because it's coming from within him. Absolutely. That which Hashim does with this is because of what is inside of Hashim. Thanks for playing, Johnny, y'all.
Have a wonderful
Have a wonderful next meditation, and find this. I'll put this here for a moment. Find this, which is in the picture, off the edge of the picture right now. It's in the silence that's off the edge.
I have it here, Swamiji.
There it is. Always ready to outdo me with a bigger and better. There it is. There it is. Thank you, Ma. That says it all. There we go.
There. Free.
There. Okay, and be free. Bye-bye, all. See you later.